It is 6:01, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to Job and Internship Fair Prep, readying your resume. I appreciate you joining me this evening. I know that you all are getting ready for the fair coming up next week, and that can be a big undertaking, but hopefully this will give you some tips when you're getting your resume ready that you're going to be taking to the fair. So we will go ahead and get started with some introductions. Hi, my name is Christina Sincere. I'm one of the career advisors here in the AU Career Center. Specifically, I work with SOC, SIS, first and second year students, and then SPA students. Um, I am curious to know, I know there's a lot of you here in the Zoom room, but if you would all, if you are open to it, I'd love to know what your class year is and your major, if you wouldn't mind putting that into the chat for me, because that's helpful for me to kind of know who's in the room, if there's some specific examples or things maybe I should call out as we're talking about resumes, but it can just be helpful for me to know if there are any themes also in the room in terms of what people are studying. All right, feel free to keep commenting in the chat. Again, just for right now, your class year majors, just so I kind of get an idea. I see quite a lot of SIS folks in the room. Um, but it's just helpful for me to kind of know who is here. Um, a few Clegg people as well, some business. We have some CAS majors as well, or majors from CAS. All right. Quite a few first year students and sophomores, but as well as some juniors. So I'm gonna venture to guess quite a few of you are gonna be looking for internships, things of that nature. I do see some folks who are seniors also calling that out right now. So feel free if you have not put your information or you haven't shared in the chat, you're more than welcome to still do that in terms of class year and major. But I would also love to know if there are any very, very particular questions. I may wait to answer them until we get to that part of the presentation. But if there are very specific questions, like I came to this presentation specifically because I want to know about this thing, that would be great for me to know. That way I can make sure that if for some reason it's not part of this presentation, that I can hit on that really quickly right now. Or if it is, I can say, oh, don't worry, we're gonna cover that in just a little while. So I will give you all a minute or so to um, pop in if there are any questions. We also will have time at the end. So if you don't have any questions right now, that's totally fine. But if you do, feel free to put that into the chat. But for right now, I'm going to keep us moving. So what we're going to be talking about or hitting on this specific presentation because it is fair prep, but specifically readying your resume. We're going to be talking about some specifics when it comes to like your resume, taking it to the fair. Are there particular things that I want you to know? But in general, a lot of the advice I'm going to give you today is going to be useful for having your resume revised no matter what. So we will be talking about overall formatting as well as when you are sharing your experiences, what do you put or how do you frame those experience entries? So we will be hitting on these topics today. Um, in terms of, let me make sure. Okay, yes. I still have people popping in, so I will be keeping an eye on that as well. Um, Fair specific things that I want you to know about. So as you are getting ready, you're going to be going to the fair. I think it's really important in general. Um, so I do see a comment of, is this going to be posted anywhere? We will be sharing the recording afterwards, and any of the materials that I share, including this presentation, will be follow-up materials. So if for some reason you just want to listen, feel free to do that. If you feel better about taking notes, if you learn better that way, that's great, but you will get this information. So, some fair specific tips. In general, your resume should typically be one page. It depends if you are a master's level student, you might have enough information to fill up 2 pages with good quality information. Typically, if you are a first, second, third year student, like you're gonna have one solid page. Some seniors and some graduate students, maybe you would have enough to fill a front and a back, but you just want to hand one piece of paper. We don't want to be handing multiple pieces of paper to these recruiters. It's going to get lost even if you start stapling stuff together. We want to make it very easy and quick for you to hand them your information. Um, in terms of how many resumes should you bring, so depending on who you plan on talking to, um, let me, I think, okay. Depending on who you plan on talking with, um, if you know you want to speak to 4 employers, I would say bring 2 or 3 more resumes because you may talk to additional employers. We just don't want you to not have enough. So there could be someone else that you start talking with that you weren't planning on, and you want to have that on hand. Um, Sorry, I thought I saw another question come through. But in terms of printing this, so the lines get really long at the library. So please, 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 especially like the day of, it would be like the smart thing to do this weekend or Monday, getting those printed rather than waiting until Tuesday. The library has told us that they get lines and lines and lines. So you don't want to be spending your time trying to print stuff when you would rather be talking to people. So if you're printing on campus, please, please make sure to plan ahead. So now we're going to jump in. So those are just things to be aware of, like when you bring this physical document with you. But actually editing and preparing this document, we're going to get into kind of the nuts and bolts of what ideally you will want to know. Um, so with that, we're going to start with formatting because if our format isn't in a good place, no matter what we're putting onto our resume, it might not fit properly. It may not be displayed well. So starting with format is a really good place to begin. So first of all, what font am I even using? So if you're looking at your resume right now, and we will look at some examples and different resumes as well. What font are you using? Is it easy to read? Is it standard within whatever word processing software that you're using? So I have some examples of sort of basics that are pretty typical that a lot of people will use. Fonts are broken up into 2 different categories. You have serif fonts. These are a little bit more stylistic. Sometimes they're referred to having feet. So if we look at like the T in Times New Roman, it kind of looks like it's a ballet dancer standing there. Different pieces of the letters are thinner than others. These can be harder when you make them smaller to read. So a sans serif font, so Arial, Trebuchet, Calibri, Verdana, all of these are much easier to read and give you some more flexibility if you make them smaller. So as you can kind of see in terms of comparison, common of these. I went with two of the most common sans serif and serif fonts just so you can see the difference between size 16 all the way down to size 10. Times New Roman is actually very difficult to read, but Arial is still extremely easy to read. So think about your font. If you feel like you're not getting enough on your page, or you need more space, maybe it's a matter of changing your font and size. So that brings us back to font sizes. What is typical? So as you are laying this document out, your name is going to be the biggest thing on the resume. So that's going to be typically somewhere between 16 to 26 point font. Again, your name, we want that to be big and front and center. Section titles themselves, those are, we still want those to pop a little bit, so like 14 to 16 points. And then your actual content, that it still needs to be readable, but that's going to be the smaller text on your page. So those would be 10 to 12 points. So this is more of a specific example where we have the name, the contact information of the person, our section title that is, a little bit larger, and then the content of the actual education information. You also do want to think about if you are utilizing bold, italics, underlining, all caps, how are you doing that strategically to make it understandable, easy to read, and that it also is consistent. So if you have, when we start looking at like experiences that people have, if your job titles are all bold, like we want to make sure all of them are bold. We don't want that to fall through the cracks because that shows attention to detail and consistency. So resume section. So, once you've picked what your font is, once you've picked some of your other stylistic options, what actually am I putting onto this document? So for if you are trying to figure out what your experiences are, the basics. The basics required, we need your name and contact information, your education. Typically, so for my first year students, because I see a question as well from a first year student in here about experiences. Um, High school. First year students, that's still a lot of your experience. So absolutely. Typically a resume is going to be the last like 4-ish years. And for a first year student, that primarily is all of your high school. For my folks that are juniors, seniors, and graduate students in the room, you probably will not have almost anything from high school on there anymore because you've gained other experiences through your time in college. So by senior year, definitely, you're not going to have anything from high school on there. Um, so in terms of your education, definitely American University needs to be on there. Maybe if you still have space and you're a first and second year student, maybe you want to include your high school, but that is not a necessary piece under education anymore. We really want to focus on being here at AU, and then whatever experiences that you want to share that you think an employer should know about that you've done. And that doesn't just mean paid stuff. That could be volunteers, that could be clubs, that could be projects that you did, community service, anything that shows that you are a good candidate for that organization, and that job, that's what we wanna see. So, optional things that sometimes people will have, they might have a section for their leadership. Skills is also a very common section that you'll see in the examples I'm going to show you later. That's a great way to get keywords and specific types of software that you're capable of using, or language skills, things of that nature. Eventually, you might have certifications for certain things. Again, if you've done volunteering, your clubs and organizations. For students that are kind of in the STEM, but also we have plenty of research in other departments like SIS and SPA. If you have research experience, that would be great to see as well. Um, And then class projects, I'll show you some examples of what that can look like. And then honors and awards or custom categories. Again, that would be more specific for the purposes of going to the career fair or the job and internship fair. We want you to think about who are you going to talk to and what do you think they want to know about from your experience? That's what we want to be seeing on your resume that you're taking to the job and internship fair. So I know you can't read what any of the resumes are saying, but just as another example of formatting, something to consider and be aware of is your margins. So standard is a 1 inch, but you could do if you're not ready to go to like to the narrow margin setting, you could try 3/4 or 0.75. Or most students, usually junior, seniors, graduate students, we are trying to optimize the page as much as possible. So a 1/2 inch or the narrow margin setting is pretty typical, and that helps you get a lot onto your one page. Um, all right, I see one question in here. Um, So I see if we're putting something on our resume, like the state on our resume, like where you're from, like I would like your location and your contact information is like where kind of your home base is right now. So since you are a DC student, and if you're applying to something that's in Washington, DC, I would use that. If this summer you are applying to things that would be back in your hometown, you would want to use your home state, home address. So that's just something to be aware of. All right. So again, back to formatting. All of these are correct, but it just depends on what's going to help you utilize your page the best. All right. So now actually jumping into the experiences. What have you done? What are the things that you want to showcase to these employers? Something to be aware of is people read these really fast, and especially when you are at the fair and you're standing in front of this recruiter, they are going to scan it pretty quickly. They will take it. They'll probably look at it in more detail later, but chances are they are going to look at it very briefly to see like, okay, is this a student that we want to make sure that we're following up with? So, um, you want to make sure that you're making it very easy for them to know what they're looking at. So before we get into describing what it is that we've done, we want to provide the context. So I usually refer to this information as the context information of an experience entry, but we want to know what your role in this was. And I say role and not job title because, right, some of these things that we share are not going to be job titles. But what was your role in this situation? Were you a member of the club? Were you the treasurer? Were you the president? Were you the student researcher? Maybe you were the intern. Um, but what was your role? What was the organization you were doing it with? Where were you? So city and state. And then the dates of when you were doing this. So we want month year to month year. And sometimes I get the question of, well, why can't we just put the years? Why do we need the months as well? Well, if I had 2024 to 2025, that could literally be 2 months or it could almost be 2 years. So we do want to be really, really careful and just make sure that someone understands the context of what we're working in. But down here, after we get past the list of what we want to have in your context, I have some different examples of what that could actually look like when you're formatting it. So depending on the amount of space that you have on your document, um, again, I really encourage if you like if you're filling this out and you let's say are just going on to a second page a little bit, we want to get on one page. Only do the 2 pages if you can fill both of them with solid information. We don't want fluff. So most of you are probably only going to have the 1 page. Sometimes it's just a little bit of space right, that we you need to figure out. When you are formatting stuff, maybe you only want to take up one line with your context information. These are a couple different ways you can do that. You can do it with commas, you could do it with the vertical lines. Um, or if you do have the space, let's say you're a first year student and it's actually getting kind of hard to fill that one page, maybe you do want to look at the context information taking up two lines. So you could have it in a chunk over to the left. You could separate it where you have the organization and the role, or vice versa, and your location and dates. So you have some style choices that you can pick from. So once we've got our context down of, okay, what was I doing? Where was I? We now need to describe it. And part of it is what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to describe the organization you were working for. We need to describe what you were doing, what you were accomplishing, what actions you think are going to stand out to the types of organizations you're talking to. So, first things first, to show action, we want to use verbs. So, as we are writing our descriptions, we want to start with a verb. And I know for the last, 18 to 20, 30 plus years of y'all's lives, you've been told to write in complete sentences. Um, I'm going to tell you to write in sentence fragments. We are starting with the action. We're starting with the verb. What were you doing? I will provide in follow-up our skill cluster listings. There's even more than this, but we have different categories. Like if I'm trying to get across, oh, I want to get across different types of, when I was doing something with public relations. Well, here are some verbs that maybe I could use to kind of get that going. Or, oh, I'm applying to things, or I'm looking at organizations where I know the work I would do is very administrative in nature. Well, maybe I need to use some of these administration related verbs, or research related. So you get the idea of like picking verbs that are relevant to what it is that you're applying for. So once you kind of think about, all right, what actions do I want to show? We do need to write a full bullet point. So these experience entries, what needs descriptions, and how do I potentially write a good one? So when you are picking the things that you want to have on your resume, I want you to think about, okay, does this show that I'm a good candidate for the folks that I'm trying to talk to at the fair? So again, this is in the context of you are prepping this to go to the job and internship fair. Look at the folks that you want to be talking to. Think about what are probably the skills that are necessary for the types of things that they're offering. Um, because that's what we want to be highlighting. So most of your entries are going to have descriptions. Some things that might not, awards, if it's very easy to tell what type of award it is. And if you have a very small section at the bottom that's like additional experience, where it's just like context information lines, because maybe you have research experience and you've done different projects and things like that, and you want to apply to something that's more research based, but you've also done part-time jobs, like you've worked customer service, but you don't really feel the need to go into a lot of detail about it. Then maybe for those customer service roles, we don't worry about description, but for your research stuff, we absolutely do want to get descriptions. So ask yourself when you are writing any sort of resume entry, why does this past experience, or how does this past experience make me a good candidate for what I'm applying to or the employers I plan on talking to? So depending on your specific interests, if for example, our SIS folks in the room, you may be talking to a variety of different people, between, the nonprofits, some of the NGO organizations as well, maybe some of the governmental entities. So thinking about, okay, do I want to showcase my organization ability? Do I want to really get across that I'm good at planning things? So you will want to think about that. But at like if you are having a hard time thinking about what you want to say, ask yourself, what are my biggest accomplishments from this experience? Or what is something I'm really proud of having done in this experience? Um, so if that's kind of hard because you're like, okay, well, maybe I only have customer service stuff. All of my jobs are customer service and I'm trying to get my first, big internship. If you were a barista, okay, how does being a barista potentially make you a good intern for a nonprofit? You know, is it because you're good at working under pressure or that you can manage multiple priorities at once? Or perhaps you did do some marketing projects outside of your typical job responsibilities, and that's something that you're really proud of doing. And that's not something you get to highlight very often, but you're going to in this case. So those are just some things to think about. All right. So, tailoring a resume. If you have very, very specific employers that you want to talk to, that you have a really, really good idea of exactly what they're looking for, maybe you want to think about doing some very specific tailoring. Typically, if you are applying to things, like you are sending in applications, we would definitely be tailoring this document more. Because you are going to an event where you're going to be talking to a lot of different people, with varying different types of positions, you want to put your information in the best light that it can be for the purposes of your resume for the fair. But if you do have things where you're like, no, I really want to tailor this very, very specifically for a type of thing, um, maybe you want to categorize your experiences to put some keywords. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment with some examples. Um, for your bullet points, you really want to emphasize the things that that organization or that job, if maybe they do have job postings up right now, things that that type of job wants. When you go to apply to things after the fair or you're looking at things in the future, something we would definitely be doing is looking at the job description really, really critically. Again, because this is an event, it's a little bit more general. That's something that would be a next step after the fair. Um, Adding your academics. So I'll show you what that looks like in a couple of different contexts. Perhaps there are things that you've done in class that like actually are very relevant to what it is that you're looking for. Maybe you want these employers to know that you've taken certain classes. If you want to go talk to the House of Representatives, maybe you want to show that you've taken politics in the US. So that could be something to think about. And anytime we can put numbers to something, whether that's number of people that we worked with, a number or amount of money that we've raised, eventually, as you get further in your career, you may even be able to say, like, I increased something by a particular percentage. That's fantastic if you have those kinds of metrics. So these are different things you could do potentially, and I'll point those out in a second when we actually look at the samples. But okay, so I'm gonna stop for just a moment and see if there are any questions based on the things that I have said, and then we're going to look at some resume examples. So I see Gabby, thank you for putting in a question. How should we format our current education or other ongoing activities and experience? So that is going to be for your education, the dates that we want is just when you're anticipating on receiving your degree. So if you are going to be graduating in May 2026, that's really what we're worried about. We don't, for education, we don't put a range. For the actual experiences, it would be the dates that you started. So let's say you started something in August, so August 2025 to present if it is currently happening. Um, so another good question in here, should we build our own resumes by hand or use templates? Are there any template resources you recommend? Fantastic question. I am not a big fan of like word templates. I know that they're very easy, they're accessible. The second that you want to change something around or adjust the format of a template that's been programmed, it's going to start to freak out because that's just not how it was set up. So if you are making your very, very first resume and it seems very daunting and you feel like a template would be helpful, we actually do have a more straightforward kind of bare bones, but like traditional resume template on our website. I can pull that up in a second and show you where that is as well. That keeps things pretty basic. If there is a template that you do find, like in Word, again, not my favorite thing, but if you find one that you think serves you well at this moment, that's fine. By the time you are a senior, I don't think any template in Word is going to be doing you any favors. So I do usually like starting kind of with a fresh document and you getting to pick what your style elements are. But I will show you where you can download the option on the website with the AU Career Center. All right, so I will keep an eye on the chat, but I'm actually going to go ahead and escape. Um, Oh, I see some good questions coming through in just a second. Let me go ahead. I'm going to show you how to actually get to um the AU Career Center. Um so when you go to the AU Career Center page, as you scroll down, we have a variety of different resources and pieces of information here, one of them being resumes. So when you click on resumes, there's going to be a breakdown of information, things to be aware of, a lot of the stuff that we've talked about today, some frequently asked questions. But as you keep going down, at the bottom, we have resume examples and templates. The first and second year undergraduate template, upper class template are fairly similar. There should also be an example attached to those, but you could open up either of these and it's gonna um, give you give you this example. But there should also be yeah, accessing. So if you want to access the templates in Google Drive, you can click here and then you can actually download them completely. So let me go ahead. I'm going to move this over here just to the FAIR page. Make sure you're doing your research for the employer so you know who you want to talk to, who you're preparing these resumes for. But let me go ahead and see because I see we have um, some more questions. So let's see if we have no work experience, clubs, organizations, leadership roles, community service. But I will also show you in a second how maybe you could put class projects on your resume, because if you've done certain papers or group projects, those can go on your resume as well. But it absolutely does not have to be something you were paid to do. Definitely a lot of clubs and organizations show fantastic leadership ability. Um, all right, as a federal work study student, am I allowed to provide my resume to employers on job fair day? Yeah, absolutely. Yes, you totally can. Um, when it comes to federal work study, there's very few, I'm actually not aware of any of the employers that are coming to campus that you would be able to use your federal work study award with. Very few organizations externally. I know DC Reads is one of them. They are one of the nonprofit local organizations that has the ability to um, pay you federal work study, but typically those are campus jobs. So the jobs that are going to be here at the fair are going to be typically external. We will have some campus offices promoting types of external things. So like a study abroad is going to be talking about the internship someone might do if they go abroad. The Office of Merit Awards is going to be talking about the different types of fellowship programs that you would apply externally to. So that's just something to be aware of. That's the federal work study is probably not gonna impact anything one way or the other with the employers coming to the job and internship fair. Um, in terms of, is it possible for students to hold both federal work study position and a non-federal work study position, regular student employment, um, during the same semester? Absolutely. We have students that'll be federal work study and then do jobs or internships off campus. Sometimes people will balance two different campus jobs just as long as one of the campus jobs um, is okay with having a student that doesn't have work study. So you want to read those job descriptions carefully. And then if you are in a major where, so the one of the questions is along the lines of if you're a particular major that's maybe more like STEM related. So in this case, computer science, and you don't have necessarily any computer science experience so far, um, uh, it's one of those things that eventually through your classes we'll be putting class projects on there. You will learn programming languages. So for the time being, some of your first roles may be more like general IT support that could be more like customer service based, where they're going to teach you some of those technical abilities. But then once you really learn much stronger, deeper technical skills, you would be applying for advanced things based off of the projects that you've done from class. All right. And should we have separate individually tailored resumes for each of the employers we anticipate speaking with? If so, what should we do for the 2 to 3 extras? So if you are going to take the time to like super tailor these, one, make sure you put sticky notes or something on it so you don't mix them up and you know who you're giving it to. Um, but I would say thinking about what version of that resume do you think is the best overall snapshot of you? I would have those be your extras. All right. So before we take a quick look at some sample resumes, I do want to make sure that I'm calling out the handshake page for the fair. There's a lot of really, really good information in here. You're able to look at not only the employers via handshake, but on the details, we have a link that goes to something called a Notion site. So when you click this link, filter through information about what they're recruiting for on this web page, it'll open up this Notion site where you're able to use filters if you maybe only want to see certain industries that are there. So if you only want to see internet and software, okay, specifically Codice is the main one that's falling under. But if you are interested in international affairs, so New Lines Institute, that is going to be very, very, very specific. But I would also encourage you to be looking across various others, like maybe if you're interested in like national security, maybe it's not going to be under international affairs, but it might be more under defense, for instance. Or maybe you want to look at a management consulting sort of organization. Maybe they do things in the defense area. So these can be a little hit or miss. You have to play with them. But there are a lot of other filters that you can filter by to kind of see what they're looking for. If you're an international student, you can see if they provide OPT, CPT, things of that nature. So definitely check that out. Do your research on the employers. We also have advice for attending the fair and talking to employers tomorrow. So like, how do I go and actually when I'm talking to them, like what does that look like? We're going to have a session tomorrow for that. That's hybrid. But now let me go ahead and show you just some samples closer up. So we will get you the skill cluster sheet. You can see there's a lot more words on there. But I do want to briefly kind of walk through those samples that were really small and just kind of showed the margins because there are lessons to be learned from these different examples, and I will make sure that when they do follow up, they send these. But let me go ahead and zoom in. So this is our 1 inch margin, pretty simple. This is kind of the example I like using for students who have never made a resume before. That, we're starting out basic. We've got our name, our contact information, education. So when you are filling out your stuff for American, we want American University, whatever school you're a part of, whether that's the School of Public Affairs, School of Communication, College of Arts and Sciences, whatever that is. You can have that, Washington, D.C., where we are. And like I mentioned before, the date of our anticipated graduation or when you graduate, um, to the best of your knowledge. And then Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science. So depending on what your degree is, we want to know what kind of degree you're getting, or if it's a Master of Arts or Masters of Science, whatever is specific to you in your major or program. So that is like the full information on your degree. Some of you may have within your programs concentrations or specializations. Maybe you're minoring in something else. Those are other things that can go in here. As I mentioned before, this is kind of a first year, never made a resume before, so I do have high school. But honestly, even by sophomore year, you could probably take this off. This has the basic breakdown of experience. So I'm looking at it, or when I made this, this was kind of the sense of anything that was like work-ish related went in here, and then anything that was extracurricular went into involvement. Honestly, all of this stuff could just be experience if I just wanted one big section. The thing that you want to keep in mind is that whenever you have a section on your resume, we want it to be the most recent thing to the least recent thing. So that's just something to keep in mind is we go from most recent to least recent in the organization. So if currently your resume has it the oldest thing first, go ahead and switch that that order because we want most recent to least recent. And we see that reflected in the education, experience, and again, involvement. We have things that are happening to present, and then other things that have ended. Skills, as I mentioned, it's an optional section, but it can be very nice if we want to call out very specific things like software, maybe there are a variety of other skills that you might want to highlight. What I would say is I would rather see software related stuff here. And if you maybe right now have things like uh uh hard worker, teammate or team oriented, good communicator, those are fantastic qualities. Make sure that that's coming through your bullet points. Show me how you've communicated. Show me when you worked on a team. Illustrate that for me. That way the skills really do stay with things that like you could do at the drop of a hat or very quickly. Eventually, for folks in STEM research positions, you may have programming languages, colon, and the different programming languages you have. If you start doing a lot with like analysis, data analysis, you may learn different statistical software, and it would be statistical software, colon, and the ones that you specifically know how to use. Um, so let me see. I've heard a couple little noises going off. I want to make sure that. Oh, okay. Q&A as well. All right. Sorry, there's different things happening, and I want to make sure that I'm hitting these things. Um, Yes, for the person who asked if there will be a recording, yes, you will be able to get a recording later. And then do we need to have a different cover letter too, or only for the top employer that we're aiming at? So part of the cover letter thing, I don't know if that's something that you need to be worrying about right now. For the purposes of the fair, you're going to meet them so they can kind of get that name and a face. They get your resume so they get that snapshot of who you are as a professional. If there was a very, very specific job, like you knew that you were talking to um, a specific person about a specific job and you wanted to give that to them, maybe, but cover letters should be absolutely tailored to the position. Cover letters are what I would call persuasive writing. You're supposed to be describing why you are the best person for that particular position. So again, if you don't know exactly the positions that they're hiring for, but you know you want to talk to that organization and learn about their opportunities because it says that they're hiring for internships, but you haven't seen other information, or you went online and saw that, on their website, which I would encourage you to do, is go to the employer's website, see if they have any information about their internship programs. And if they do, maybe look at what those specific ones are, to be able to ask them really thoughtful questions about it. All right, so some more questions coming in. All right, work experience lasted less than a month. You would just put that month. Like if it happened in March 2025, it would just say March 2025 and that's it. So that's a really good question. If it was a short experience but substantial in terms of your career development. Okay, so are cover letters required for the Job and Internship Fair or Kogod Career Expo? No, they are not. Honestly, I don't think that you should even be worrying about that right now, unless there is someone very, very, very specific with a job you already know you want to apply to. Like you can name the job in the cover letter and explain why you are the best fit for that particular role. That's the point of a cover letter, as a persuasive piece of writing. Really, the fairs, this is for you to network. This is for you to get them to know a name and a face, um, and to make that initial introduction. Because chances are, if you are applying to anything, or there are opportunities that they talk to you about, you are going to need to apply to them after the fact, most likely officially. In that case, then you would be writing a cover letter if they ask for that. Or if it's optional. If they say optional, I highly encourage you to write one. But I do not think that you need to bring a cover letter to the fair. You just need to, if you want to be networking and giving out your resume, that's what you would want to be bringing. Um, where can we schedule an appointment to meet with someone from the Career Center specifically for resume review and help? So also fantastic question, and something that I hope is also yes. So the prep events. So part of it is if you log into your Handshake, and so I guess let me split this because it gets a little confusing. If you are a Kogod student, you are going to make appointments through the Kogod Talent Network. If you are a student of any of the other schools, we use Handshake. And you would go into your Handshake account, and in a moment, I can show you what that looks like as well. But you would make your appointments through Handshake. I will say we're booking out really, really far in advance, so I don't know how many opportunities there would be for a full-on individual appointment before the fair. But we are specifically in preparation for the fair hosting these resume and employer research stations. So this Thursday, the 11th. We will have our first one. It is virtual. So you're able to connect virtually, but you would be able to meet with a career advisor for about 15 or 20 minutes to discuss your resume or who you think you want to talk to, kind of plan out your plan of attack at the fair. But very much most students are going to use this to get their resume and another set of eyes on their resume before the day. We also will have in person on Monday, September 15th from 1 to 4 in Butler in the Career Center. So Thursday is virtual, 2 to 5. Monday is in person from 1 to 4. But it's going to be first come, first serve. You'll get matched up with a career advisor. We will take a look at your document and see if there's anything major to do before the event. Um, all right, so real quick, if you are looking to make an appointment in the future, and you don't know how to do that, you go to Career Center and you go to appointments. And then from here, you would schedule a new appointment and it will walk you through like the different categories and things like that, and you'll set up an appointment. One more caveat. For our folks that are in SIS, if you are a junior, senior, or graduate student, you specifically are served by the SIS Career Center or Career Development Office. They specifically work on a drop-in basis, but they have hours, multiple hours each day where they're in SIS for that. Or you can visit with our drop-in hours as well. But for the juniors, seniors, and graduate students in SIS, if you go in here, this is basically where it's going to stop for your purposes because you're not programmed to be able to make appointments at that point. If you're a first or second year SIS student, me and my supervisor Brian are the advisors for that specifically because you're not quite fully declared yet, like you are with intent an SIS major, but there's a little bit of a split there. All right, back to our examples. So again, basic first one. If we want to see what it kind of looks like to get a little bit of education on our resume. So this is a good example of, all right, I've taken high school off, but that's because I'm going to go ahead and use space in here to share relevant courses and projects. So this is the short way. If we have a lot of experiences and we don't have a lot of space, this can be a fantastic way to get those classes, get very specific things on here. So we would pick probably our top 2 or 3 classes. 4 is kind of starting to push it because that's going to make it really long and start to be, kind of dense to read. But we want the name of the class and then basically the bullet point of what did you do? What did you accomplish? What did you write? I know for a lot of SPA and SIS students, your classes are some of the first places you write memos. So if you want to show someone that, hey, I have memo writing experience, it's from class, but I have it, this can be a great way to do that. These are some PR projects that are very common that students might do in SOC that would be good to show some practical skill. But this then goes into more tailored sections. Like I mentioned, maybe you want to categorize your experiences. Maybe you have a lot of research experience, or maybe you have education or teaching experience that you want to highlight, or perhaps it has to do with policy analysis experience. Like you really want to define that and specifically call those things out. In this case, it's communication and writing. I've got a combination of clubs, organizations, work-related things. Anything can live under this because all of it is experience that relates to my category. But I don't want to lose my customer service, so that's why it gets its own little section down here. Our skills are growing, so we're adding things. But this again is a good kind of like solid middle ground. Maybe you don't have like major projects you want to highlight just yet. But this final example, right, we're making the most of our page. We have the narrow margins, half inch all the way around. Education is a little bit more condensed this time. We're only listing relevant courses here. It helps us get those keywords on. It gives a little bit of a nod to our um, classes, but there are very, very specific projects at this point in this student's career. So, this is kind of my senior year or beginning master's education example, where, okay, yes, we've got these experiences, but now I have a couple of projects that I really, really want to showcase. So for those of you that have projects from class, maybe projects that were part of um, a club or organization, like maybe you did a really big like volunteer program for National Honor Society and you specifically want to highlight the event that you did. Again, you can play with this as it you see fit for you, but this is a good way of getting projects on here. In this case, right, we don't have a job title. This wasn't a job. So we want to know what this thing was, what type of project or what type of paper, especially for SIS and SPA folks. Um, you know, if you have written a comparative analysis paper, like we can say that comparative analysis paper for a particular course at American University, ballpark of when it happened. I understand for some of your school stuff, you're going to be like, I don't know if that was February or March. Um, I want you with your best intent. Um, like, okay, I genuinely think this was March. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that. For some of you, you're going to have capstone stuff that spans the entire semester, so that actually makes it pretty easy of knowing how long you were doing it. But we want to treat it just like our jobs, where we're going to give bullet points of what you did, what you accomplished, that, you want that person to see. But that can be a good way of breaking it up, is having different experiences. If you want to have a project section where you go into more detail, this still does have some campus involvement in here as well. So these are just a few examples of also how a resume evolves over time. This is someone's first year in college, and then we get to basically their senior year in college. They've gained new experiences, they've done different things. So just know that this document is also going to change over time for the rest of your career. I even update my resume pretty frequently as well now. So let me see. I've got a few more questions. Nope, I think, okay, those are good. I think those are answered. Um, all right, so I think that's everything I wanted to show you. I know that we're kind of at time. Please know that you will get this stuff in follow-up. But I'm happy to hang out and answer any questions that people might have. But as of right now, you all are free to go. Enjoy your night.